So I'm just getting back from Black Rock City. I was attending Burning Man the past 10 days or so, and there's so many little things that came to me during the course of the week that I spent out there, a week and a half or so that I spent out there. And when you're riding your bike at night with all the lights and like weaving in between giant art cars, each one blasting its own unique form of bass heavy musical decomposition, it's hard to sort of, there's no one I can pull over and find a quiet space and talk to um, about a lot of these ideas. But one of the ideas that I wanted to share and recount here with you guys on YouTube is this notion of unity and plurality, or oneness and manyness. There's a strange sort of synchronicity when I flipped on YouTube for the first time and got caught up on my subscriptions. I noticed a video by Conference Report called The One Myth, or the Myth of the One, or I think it was The One Myth, actually. It was the title of the video. And he was talking about our sort of everyday experience of a kind of unity to our experience of the world, right, and of our bodily and phenomenological orientation towards the world. And I had a similar experience out at Burning Man when we stayed up all night, and actually about 5 a.m. when it was still dark, we rode our bikes out to the very edge of the territory of the event. There's a little fence there, and you can look off into the distance towards the east, and really you see all the way to the horizon. So it's quite spectacular to watch the sunrise in this dusty environment as it comes through the red haze in the distance. I'll go this way. And as the sun was rising, the moon was sort of 90 degrees square to it, and conjunct with the moon was Jupiter. And to watch the transition from night to day, through dawn, to see the way that the sun overpowers, Jupiter and the moon, the other two brightest objects in the sky. The sun overpowers them so easily. But what struck me watching that unfold before me was that, there's one world, and that maybe we talk about world views when we forget to orient ourselves to our surroundings, and instead just, we argue with one another about whose abstract ideas are more true than the others. But when we actually orient ourselves again to the world we share, out there, I think it's clear that all of those abstract ideas, those various world views that we each hold, is sort of, they're all dissolved into the one embracing sky, and the one common ground that we all walk upon, right? There's a lot of great work on this. The phenomenological philosopher John Sallis has written a couple books on what he calls the elemental imagination, where he talks about sky and earth and ocean, and sun as elements, as the elemental constituents of our being in the world, of our phenomenological experience. And he tries to resituate us, to reorient us, to attune us again to our everyday and every night surroundings. Because it's true, the human being has become so adept at playing language games and has become such a skilled technician that our environment now, aside from the very basic foundations of earth and sky, is largely built, right? We live in a built environment. We shape it brick by brick, and it makes it all the more, and we have light bulbs. We actually have stolen the power of the sun to produce light whenever we want. And so all of this leads to the potential for a disconnection and an alienation from the elemental powers that inform our being at a biological, physical level, right? Not to mention psychological. So I think oneness then is a plain fact that we share one earth beneath one sky, but at the same time, ontologically speaking, I'm a pluralist. I come down and somewhere between Alfred North Whitehead and William James in a sort of pluralistic conception of the universe, right? So there's still the universe and the one, but the one is one of the many. That's kind of how I look at it. So I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too. In the sense that, yeah, there is unity, of course. It's obvious. Like, look around us. There's this spherical containment to our experience that gives it a center and a periphery, and we're always at the center and so on. There's a oneness, but that one is itself multiple already, right? It's made up of many various facets and crevices and folds. So the one is nothing other than the many. There is the one, yeah, of course. Then there is the two, there's duplicity, and then there's the three, there's trinity, the four, the quaternity. All of these are dimensions, ways of measuring the phenomenal world. And whether or not phenomena are many and like the noumena is one, that's another question. It'd be interesting to have that conversation, but I would rather say that the noumena is none. One is already a phenomenon. Whatever the noumenal is, whatever the transcendent or divine is, it's unplaceable, untouchable, uncountable. It's not even one. As Plato said, echoing Parmenides, the one is beyond being. It's beyond our capacity to say anything about. It can't be predicated, as Kant would later say. Zero is already saying too much. Nothing is already too much. It has too much thingliness to really capture the noumenal. So there's this sort of mystical emanation that engulfs you whenever you begin contemplating oneness, right? But I think we shouldn't be too transfixed by this. It's not that it's an illusion per se, it's just that there are also others beside the one. The one is one of many. And this is true ontologically speaking, and it's true psychologically, I think, as Conference Report was alluding to. We pretend like, in our modern democratic societies, individualistic societies, that we are each unified, egoic actors with free will and so on. But we know, in fact, if we just track the ongoing course of our daily and nightly experience, that our minds, our psyches are full of various characters and a multitude of desires, many of which are contradictory. There are all sorts of voices in our head at all times. And yeah, we are able to weave together a more or less coherent biographical narrative of who we are, you know. But that narrative is always contested by other narratives, you know, other people's narratives and our own unspoken narratives, the ones that remain at the subverbal, unarticulated level perhaps, but nonetheless still there. Like, my narrative identity is always contested. It's contingent. I must reestablish it every day. So it's not something to be taken for granted as a kind of a fixed substance, you know, that I'm given at birth. So the self is multiple, just like the universe is multiple, and that it's made of a multiplicity and is one of a multiplicity. So a little metaphysics for you on this Thursday afternoon.